Hi, and welcome to this month's edition of Chamber Chat TV. I'm Danielle McFadden, President of the Chamber, joined by
Emma Brooks. I'm the Director of Member and Community Relations.
We're very excited to have Andy Moisenko here from Advise today. How are you doing, Andy?
Very well, thanks. And how are you?
We're great. We're so excited to have you on.
Well, thank you so much.
So there's a lot of questions here and a lot of content, so let's dive right in.
Yes. So can you tell us just what is business transition planning?
Business transition planning is really developing an understanding of the business and the business owner and setting objectives and goals for post-transition. That is, after the business owner leaves the business, setting objectives and goals for activities of each, the new ownership and for the business. And especially a new life for the former business owner. And this is also applicable to professionals and executives as well.
Interesting. I think a lot of times people don't think about it until they need to think about it.
That's
Is it
right.
important to kind of try to plan ahead?
It's very important. I like to see, actually the answer to the question I give, when should I start planning, is now. It's much in the same respects as a good business plan has an exit strategy in it. During your career, be it as a business owner or professional and executive, you should be thinking about, well, where am I going after this career?
Absolutely. And is that something that you help with at Advise?
Exactly. Help the business owner, professional executive articulate what they would like to do, how their family life is going to be, because the family is very much a part of the life afterwards. And help try and establish a meaningful and purposeful life following that transition, because without that, there's all sorts of emotional pitfalls that can occur. If you're uncertain as to what's next, you tend to be reluctant to make decisions, and sometimes the decisions end up being confused because of the emotional situation.
And also, you hear times people retire, and then after a week, they're like, what's next?
Exactly. That occurs more frequently than it should. There are cases where people retire and they are sitting around not knowing what to do. And what happens is they really then become victims. Rather than setting up a plan, they kind of react to things instead of building a life. And then there are those who underplan. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to go fishing. Well, that wears thin after a while. And they haven't thought about fallback situations. They haven't thought about what else could I do. And that's an area that I work in, to set up a whole portfolio of different lifestyle choices so that if something falls through, something else can be gone to.
I like that you incorporate the family into it too.
It's very important. One of the interesting situations, business owners, professionals, and my wife has just gone on partial retirement, and so I'm experiencing it. It's the interesting coffee cup motto that I married you for better or worse, but not for lunch. And and that is a serious problem. The statistics on what's called gray divorce are skyrocketing. People over 50, because as somebody returns to the home after being a CEO, they find out there's another CEO at home, and they're no longer giving the orders. So there's a lot of work in terms of what are your common goals, because it's very much a part of life. You're no longer just the business, you're into life.
So how does that differ from exit planning, the business transitioning planning versus the exit planning?
Exit planning is primarily concerned with the financial well-being of the business. There is some consideration of what kind of proceeds you can get from the sale of the business. Exit planning could also be related to, for the professional or the executive, the so-called just retirement planning. Those are mostly financial, and in exit planning, it's a matter of how the business will continue after the owner leaves, with little regard for the well-being of the business owner afterwards. And in the case of, let's say, a C-level person or a partner in a medical office or a dental office or in a legal office, there's little concern for what they're going to be doing afterwards. It's a matter of how do we keep this practice going. So those kinds of plans don't take into account the larger personal aspects.
Interesting.
I know. So can you tell us again, why is business transition planning so important and who should be considering it?
It is very important because for the business owner, business ownership transitions are very complex. They involve a wide range of stakeholders, from employees to vendors to customers, to the community who buys the Little League uniforms, who helps support a lot of community activities. So an owner simply going, well, I'm just going to shut the doors, is not looking at all of the stakeholders, and there's a lot of tax issues, there's a lot of financial issues, and there, in some cases, a lot of legal or regulatory issues. So in a business transition, that's very complex. For a professional or an executive, there may be matters of what kind of agreements, non-compete clauses. If you wish to go into consulting, can you work in the same area? There may be issues of confidentiality for attorneys. There's entire issues of what you do with case files. So it's very complex, and it's not just another sale. It is a transition. It is really a project, and so this requires finding advisors to help you in all aspects. The other important thing about doing the planning is, if you have no idea of what is coming next, one of the things we as human beings fear is the unknown. If you start planning, you may not really be able to achieve all of that, but at least you gain a sense of control. This provides you with more self-assurance, more self-confidence, so your decisions, your business decisions, become more sound. And it becomes really a growing positive spiral that you're making headway, and your plan is a place that you can reach for.
Also, you hear so many times of people who their retirement plan is selling their business,
Yeah.
but they don't do anything to prepare for that, and then their business isn't sellable.
That's right.
So there goes their retirement plan.
There's a lot of business owners that are under the impression that they will be able to get 3 times annual revenues, but there's 2 sides to the equation, and one of them is, well, what the business may be valued as from its inherent business value, assets, and so forth, and the other side is, how much is the market going to pay? If you have one print shop that's going up for sale in an area, may command a good price. If there's 5 print shops going out of business,
Yeah.
it really changes things. Over 80% of business owners are expecting to use the proceeds of the sale of their business to fund their retirement.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
It is extremely high. Less than 30% have any plan for what to do after retirement.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of issues there. The planning is important, because how can you have a sound financial plan if you don't know what you're going to do? It's akin to, how much does it cost to build a bridge? How big is the bridge? Where are you going? So your financial planner really should be seeking out, what do you want to do? And finally, I think a very important thing that's changed, so it's no longer traditional retirement as our grandparents and parents may have had. We are living longer. Our life expectancy is incredibly longer. We may have another 25, 30 years after the traditional retirement age. So that's an awful long time to just sit and wonder what to do.
And you want to be able to have enough money to
That's right.
actually live the way that you're
That's
accustomed to for that many years as well. So how can a business transition planner help an advisor better serve his or her clients?
In the case of financial advisors, frequently they'll find that they will assign homework, gather some information to a client, do an expense report, and nothing seems to happen. A month goes by, 2 months. And I refer to this as the client being stuck. And this frequently happens. It's part of our natural response to something threatening. We have flight, fight, and then we have freeze. And in many cases, this is such a frightening thing when people begin to apprehend the fact that they are now going to be leaving what they're familiar with and going into a new area. They don't want to consider it. I have heard business owners refer to it as like dying, because they are moving from I am a business owner to what am I now?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that advisors can gain from is they can focus on the financial area, the insurance, the legal. Many advisors don't want to get into the softer issues. I can work collaboratively with them and with their client to help relieve some of this fear, to help get a little bit more confidence so that their clients will be able to make the decisions and do the work to help their advisor help them.
And they focus on what they're good at, and then they bring in an expert
Exactly.
to help with the rest.
Exactly. I do not do financial, I do not do
Yeah.
legal. I work on the process, the whole process area, how to put it together.
Which in many cases is probably the most important part, because it's what people aren't thinking about.
It's a matter of, you could sub-optimize. You could have your legal advisor going in one direction and your financial advisor going in another, and when you're finally coming down to actual transactions, things don't match up.
We only have 2 minutes left, if you can believe that, so I
Oh,
want you
geez,
to be able to cover anything quickly that you want to
I think
us to know.
basically advisors can gain. The other area that is becoming more and more important and being felt in industry, employers often run into the issue with senior employees who, as they're starting to approach retirement, I use the phrase RIP, they retire in place. They no longer feel a purpose. And if a good transition plan from an employer, from an employee assistance plan, from HR, to work with developing a plan following this transition can help these people feel far more engaged, which is a big problem, and really help them to be able to decide, yes, I am going to leave, because we do have issues in some organizations where employees just don't want to leave, and that stops younger folks from achieving. So
It's a great benefit.
it's a fantastic benefit, yeah.
If folks want to get in touch with you, how would they do so?
My website, www.advy as in yellow, .com. Email is andy@advise.com. And or call me on the telephone, 978-251-0906.
You can always get Andy's information too on our website, or just give us a buzz, and we can definitely send everybody over to you.
Very good. Thank you.
So much. This is it's always so educational talking to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Hi, and welcome back to Chamber Chat TV. I'm Danielle McFadden, President of the Chamber, joined by...
Emma Brooks, I'm the Director of Member and Community Relations.
We have no strangers to us, or maybe to the TV, but not to the radio. We have Harry Garavanian from Garavanian Travel and Paul O'Meara from Globus Family of Brands.
That's us.
Thank
How
you.
you guys doing?
Good. Thank
Just
you.
living the dream. We're
I
selling
know,
travel.
Seriously.
What better thing is there than that?
I mean,
especially-
everybody must always be happy.
They love,
Yeah.
you know, you call people, especially when you have snow, they just want to get out and
Absolutely.
enjoy going, whether going to Europe, Ireland, wherever.
And
They're always excited.
One of the benefits of using a travel agent versus booking online somewhere is that when there is a storm coming or something like that, you have your travel agent to lean on to help you through
Yes.
that process.
And we've even gone as far as changing people going one day earlier, 2 days earlier, because we want to make sure they go to the destination. They've been waiting all year. They've invested in the vacation package, and we want to make sure they get there.
Yep. So that's one of the many benefits of using a travel agent.
Yes.
And then another benefit is that they form relationships with some of the travel companies,
Yeah,
which is huge.
yeah. I mean, I started my career as an agent, so I can back up a lot of what they
Yeah.
do at Garavanian. I mean, I'll tell you, there's 100 reasons why I could give you, or why most people should know that they should use an agent, but it's mostly the reasons you can't think of. You know, it's
Yeah.
things like weather and, you know, a volcano in Iceland where
Yeah.
people can't get home, things like that. So to have somebody like that essentially is working for free for you
Absolutely.
is a big help.
And that's a good point. It doesn't cost you anything to use a travel agent.
That's correct.
And many times you save money because of the relationships you have.
Yes. And you're secured too. And a lot of people like to come and see us too. We can
We
consult.
love you guys, that's why.
We love seeing. No, we've been in business almost 31 years, and we've known Paul for probably close
Probably
to
half
30,
of that, yeah, a long time.
And it's great because the relationship we build with, he's a great vendor. I mean, it's Globus is an incredible product, and we enjoy it. It's been good.
Excellent.
So what are some current trends in the industry that you've seen over the last year or so?
Oh boy, a lot. You know, there's definitely been more of an interest in staying closer to home. You know, companies like Garavanian that sell a lot of the Caribbean, that's a great thing. You know, everybody wants to go somewhere warm in the wintertime. Companies like us, where we're not necessarily selling the Caribbean, but we're selling a lot of things like U.S. national parks. A big trend has been that. So over the last
100-year.
yeah, 100th anniversary was
yeah.
in 2016. So that has been a huge boon to our business. You know, a lot of people that maybe would have gone somewhere else you know, they're now staying a little bit local. United States National Parks, Canadian Rockies, and then destinations that, you know, safe destinations are kind of things that people think of now. It's kind of a vague term, but you know, people know it when they see it. So other places, you know, like Iceland and Ireland and Italy, you know, people generally are looking for something that they're a little more comfortable in now. And that's been the trend. I mean, it's always been part of what we've done as a company, you know, offering the world essentially, but we've seen over the last few years become really relevant to pretty much anybody that talks to Harry now. If it's not the Caribbean, safety is a big factor in where they go.
Good point.
Yeah.
We all want to feel safe for sure. So Italy's always on the top of many travelers' bucket lists. Can we talk a little bit about Italy?
Yeah, we call it for us, it's the first timers, right? Like people that have never been to Europe. There's two places that they generally always have at the top of their list, either for family reasons or safety reasons. One is Ireland. Obviously, being in the Northeast, we have such an Irish connection. You know, I think
O'Meara?
Yeah, O'Meara, right? There's something like 40 million people say that or can claim ancestry in Ireland, but only 7 million people live there. So the numbers are off a little bit with Ireland, but so Ireland is one, and then Italy. Yeah, Italy's one of those destinations where if you've never been to Europe, there are so many different places you could visit within Italy, and almost everybody, it seems like in the U.S. and definitely in the Northeast, have some connection to, you know, an aunt, an uncle, a grandmother, grandfather that came from some place in Italy. And you could spend, I mean, I've been to Italy a dozen times. You could spend a year in Italy and not see the same destinations twice. And that really helps drive the first-time traveler there, because it's not just Rome, Florence, and Venice. You know, there are a lot of other places you can see. And you know, and for us as a tour company, I mean, we have almost 40 tours that just do Italy, different pieces.
It's really too bad that you have to go visit.
Yeah, it's tough. Not all of it's fun. Some of it is business, you know. But like I said, it's a good business to be in.
And one of the huge advantages of going with Globus is, what's your average tour director? I mean, they're like in the attic for like 20 years, so you get to get a very informative, because if you're going for the first time, you want to make sure you can take in as much as you can in a short bit. And you know, like I said, what's your average tour operator?
Yeah, tour directors, for us, the average in Europe is about 30 years, between 25 and 30 years. And, you know, the best part about a tour director, you know, is that most of these people are born, raised, trained, and work in the countries that they're from. You know, we're not a company or it isn't in the best interest of Harry's clients. You know, if you guys go in and say you want to go to Italy, it's not in your best interest for us to, you know, hire somebody from Boston and then send them over to
Like,
Europe.
oh, I'm sick of this accent. I hear it every day.
Right, and I used to joke and say, if I was a tour director, that's the last thing you want to see in Ireland, say, is me as the tour director. You know, you want somebody that can point out a house that he grew up in, or a school that he went to, or a friend's business who we're going to be having dinner at that night. And that's really what Italy does really well. I mean, just the the number of tour directors that we have across Europe, being a European-based company, but especially in Italy. I mean, they're born, raised, trained, and work in the country. So they're really like true ambassadors when people get over there. And you don't have to worry about a language barrier. You don't have to worry about where the good places to shop or eat.
Best wine.
Well, they can tell you all about that. Yeah. And most of our clients don't have any issue finding those places on their own.
Well, I think even like going to the Vatican, I call it the fast pass like Disney. The lines are exceedingly long, and Paul can tell you, they have a shortcut for the people on the Globus tour.
Yeah, I love that's one of my favorite things is going to the Vatican and you see the line of people wrapped around the front of the Vatican that all have VIP tickets that they bought from somebody on the street selling them, until they realize that VIP ticket is still going to mean about a 4-hour, in the busy spring and summer, it's going to be a 4-hour wait to get in to see the Sistine Chapel, whereas companies like ours who've been doing business in Italy since the 20s are going in the back entrance, up the back side of the Vatican Museum and into the Sistine Chapel from a completely separate entrance. So, the VIP entrances all over Europe. I mean, think about it just in Italy alone. I mean, you think about the Vatican, the Colosseum. I mean, good luck waiting in line at the Colosseum in September when there's 2,000 people in front of you and they're letting in about 200 to 400 people an hour. Yeah, I mean it is, and for that's bucket list. Like people, you can't go to Rome and not see.
I mean, if you're over in Europe, you want to take in as much as possible. You don't want to spend an entire day waiting in line.
Exactly right, and you will, and that's the beauty of not only a company like ours, but an agency like Airvanian to tell you that that's what's going to happen. Because most people think they're doing it on their own. I went online, I got a VIP ticket, until they realize that VIP ticket just means they get in the normal line with everybody else.
What to tell you that the Mona Lisa is really like this big?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and is going to be completely surrounded by tourists when you finally get into the Louvre.
You see you and it's just like the Mona Lisa sitting there.
Yeah,
like, no.
If you can even get a picture
You're
of
like, and it's like a stamp.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So it's stuff like that, that having an expert. I mean, and we talk about it as a company. I mean, we're handling, 500 million or so passengers a year worldwide. And part of what we tell people all the time is talk to your local agents. They know these little tips and tricks that can help you avoid 4 hours in line at the Colosseum. Right. There's just little things like that general internet searches are not going to tell you.
I remember my cousin went on her honeymoon. She was going to Hawaii, and she went through you guys, and Gabe called her up and said, the hotel that you're staying at in, Maui is doing renovations because they're building a Louis Vuitton store. Do you want to switch hotels? Like just little things like that.
No, I want a Louis Vuitton gift certificate to go with it now.
But just like little things like that, giving the option, like if that, is going to put a damper on your...
It's a big difference. The internet's not going to call you back.
Yeah.
They're not going to call you up and tell you something like that. And that's, over 90% of our business, our 500,000 plus passengers a year, come through travel agencies. And that's exactly why. Yeah. That's exactly why, because we know that when our clients are booking our packages through travel agencies, that they're going to be handled correctly.
Plus, consumers, you value your time off. I mean, you don't have tremendous amount of time. So in that 10-day period, and we understand that, and it's almost like a necessity to go on vacation now because of the way everything is in the world. So you want to relax and you want everything, like Paul used the phrase bucket list. So usually if someone goes to Italy, then they want to go, oh, this is great. I want to try to do this next time at a different destination. So we try to make sure it's a great experience every time.
Absolutely. I've used you. It is a great experience.
Thank you.
So you've already mentioned a couple, but what are some of the most popular destinations and sites?
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, so for me, I really love the small towns. I'm a little spoiled, like I mentioned.
You've already been everywhere.
I've been to Italy a few times, but for me, the first few times I went, it really was. It's unbelievable to see pictures and video, and then finally you're standing in front of the Colosseum. Like where they were having gladiator fights 2,000 years ago. Like it's just, it's one thing to see pictures and videos, especially in social media today with all the stuff that you can see well before you go ahead of a trip, 360-degree views, but to actually stand at the Colosseum when the sun's kind of setting behind it. And so the first few times it's always that. It's walking around Venice and getting lost in the canals. It's going to see the Statue of David in Florence. It's the big cities. It's the really popular things that most people want to see. For me, it's the small towns. For me, I'm the guy that's not going to go eat as much as I love some of the restaurants there, I'm not going to go eat on Hanover Street in the North End. I'm going to go find the little tiny house that has 2 tables, and the husband is the chef, and the wife is the the maitre d'. And those are the places that I like in Italy. The last trip I took, about an hour north of Rome, there's a little town called Orvieto, and it's this little tiny hilltop town in Tuscany. You're kind of driving along the highway, and you come around a corner, and all you see is this hill with a wall around it. You can't even see any buildings except one chapel in the middle, and it sticks straight up, a couple hundred feet up in the air. You can see that. But when you actually get up there, there's about 2,500 people that live in this town. Wow. And it's a hilltop town. And you get up there and everybody wants to talk to you. And everybody's shop has a little, cafe stand and a couple of seats outside. And it's just, those are the cities in Italy that I really love, like around Umbria and Tuscany. And, for me, and then, so seeing some of the smaller towns is great. But there's just, we could do a whole hour-long show just on Rome. There's just,
right.
For the first timers, we have a number of tours that do 10 or 12 days that just do Rome, Florence, and Venice. And you don't need to see anywhere near everything that's included. And that doesn't even get into the food and wine, which, you could spend months just, doing that, which I would love to be able to do, but
Start a blog.
I can't yet. Yeah, please. I know. That's what it is, right? No. But it's there's so many things, and it's everything that people think Italy is. It's that and more when you actually are there. You think I've seen it. I've seen the Colosseum. How great can it be? And then you're there and you're like, wow. Like people were actually, having gladiator fights here 2,000 years ago in this exact spot. It's crazy. But there's a lot. Italy, there's a lot to see and do. A lot, obviously.
It's obvious that you love Italy.
Yeah, and it's great because there's so many different options. Like people that have been there, haven't been there before, there's a lot of great options to do first or second time trips to see the big cities with a little bit of the smaller towns. For people that have been there a half a dozen times or more, there's a ton of small cities. Like I have friends that just go to the lakes now. They'll just do Maggiore and Como and go over to Italy or go in the winter and ski in the Alps. I have friends who have relatives that are from Sicily. So they're going to skip everything altogether in the mainland of Italy and just be on Sicily for 10 or 12 days in Taormina and places like that. So there's so much you can do depending on, what you want to see and if you've been there before or not. And it's one of the few places on earth that's like that. United States is another. Italy is very similar in that way, I think, to the U.S. People that come and visit Boston have no idea what Disney World is like. People that go to Disney have no idea what Vegas is, or maybe they do a little bit, or no idea what Washington, D.C. is, or Hawaii, or Alaska. You could spend years, obviously, in the United States and not see, and Italy is a lot like that, in a much smaller package.
So we have 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
What else should we talk about?
I think Cuba's been big.
Yeah.
That's just started out, and also Iceland. That's the other area.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 biggies that have. They're the hot places to go right now.
Yeah.
The one thing is with going with Globus is you have to get visas and the documentation. So the way it's all set up, you go the night before to Miami and then you take the flight over. So everything, all your documentation, everything's presented. They don't use credit cards in Cuba, so you got to.
wow.
So it's a totally.
Really?
The one good thing with Globus is these are some of the things I don't tell you. We have the clients are all prepared prior to going there, because once you go there, it's all set up for just going.
I think what most people think, you see, Lester Holt on the news, and he's talking about all these flights that go from the mainland U.S. to Cuba, and everybody thinks that we're just going to call Harry and get a flight. And JetBlue, I saw it was $79. Why can't I do that? There are still rules and regulations as to who can go to Cuba legally. And for us being one of the first companies that ever really sold Cuba trips under there's 12 kind of categories, without going too much into it, 12 categories of people that could legally travel to Cuba: doctors, humanitarians, people with family there, things like that. Yeah, well, if you're her, of course, we'd call her a humanitarian, I guess, for some people in Cuba, right?
I think it was the Kardashians.
Oh boy, well, I have nothing for that. I don't. I really have nothing for them. But
They're actually anti-humanitarian.
This right. Yeah, that's right. This people-to-people program, basically means we set everything up up locally with all of the people in Cuba so that you're getting a real cultural experience. And that's really the only legal way you can still travel to Cuba. So it's been really, really, I mean, for us, we have 5 different tours. We sell about 4,000 passengers a year down to Cuba. We take care of all the details, like Harry mentioned. And it just makes it a much easier, more seamless experience. And you get to see Cuba like it is. You know, there are 30 other Caribbean islands that Harry is very familiar with, Harry and Gabe, and they can send you to Aruba and Jamaica and St. Lucia all day long, and they're very good at that. Cuba is something completely different. It's not overcrowded, it's not overrun. You get a real cultural feel for what the island is, and who knows how long that will be that way. So that's become very popular, very, very popular.
That's been the trend. People looking for more of a cultural, different experience. And that's why the other place is Iceland. Going to Reykjavik, safe. I mean, nothing happens in Iceland. So going to I can let you explain. Like the Northern Lights is the big
Yeah,
attraction.
you hear about that a lot.
Wintertime, yeah. And it's, we were just talking about it actually before we came in the room quickly, but we had, some great folks that came into their agency this morning and wanted to do Iceland. And the reason that they wanted to do it is for the Northern Lights. And for us, to have tours that run from, say, October to March, which is prime Northern Lights season, it was a no-brainer. Like, Gabe knew right away that it was something that we did. It was something that his clients would be comfortable with and love. And they booked and paid today. So something like that, and that started with Northern Lights, and we want to be safe.
Yeah.
Back to kind of some of the original discussion.
So 20 minutes has come and gone pretty quickly.
Yes.
We could have done this
we
for an hour.
could spend more
easily.
time. I'll come back anytime, Harry and I.
We
Yeah.
would love that, but we want to give your contact information so that folks can get in touch
Call
with
us at
you.
Garavinian Travel. Phone number is 978-251-2868 or garaviniantravel.com. We've been in North Chelmsford for 31 years, so it's pretty easy to access. We're open Monday through Saturday and evening appointments. And I appreciate you having us on, Paul. It's always a pleasure. Paul, we have a great relationship with Globus.
Sure.
Is just a phenomenal company.
Well, we have good companies like Harry's that represent our products. We're not selling generally, we're not a B2C company. We're not selling to consumers directly. So to have a company like Garavinian is important because we know that when clients come to us through them, the expectations are going to be met because they've kind of set the
absolutely.
stage for what we're going to offer them.
Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. You can check out our website at greaterlowellchamber.org. We have a lot of stuff coming up, so definitely check it out there. And we'll see you again next month.